Now last week I took off 2 big cucumbers from this trellis, and really it's 2 plants growing here, but one of them is so small, it's on the very end and it hasn't yet produced anything. This big one here though, I mean, it's kind of a monstrosity in the sense that it's taken over the trellis and is also sending out runners. You can see a bunch more going that way. So I'm going to check out the plant now, see if I can find any more ripe and ready cucumbers, and I'll let you know what I find.
Hi, I'm Kim, and this is Olive City Oasis, and today I'm talking to you all about the Armenian cucumber.
These are the cucumbers I pulled off my Armenian cucumber plant just today. I thought there was one big cucumber. Quickly found there was a lot more than that. There were 5. This last one I measured and it's 23 inches long. These things are massive. But wait till you see the biggest one. So this one is by far the biggest. I had to actually cut off the piece, it's propping it up right now, from the end because it had grown through the trellis, the wired trellis, and I couldn't get it out without cutting the cucumber. And I think you can see that if it was actually laid out straight, it would be longer than the cucumbers that were 23, 24 inches. So my hand is touching the side of the cucumber there, lined up with the ruler, and as you can see, the diameter is 6 inches. So what am I going to do with all these cucumbers? Well, I made pickles with the first 2 big ones I pulled off of this one plant a week ago. That was a lot of pickles. I don't know if I can make this many pickles. I may end up just sharing these with the chickens because they do love them as much as we do. But that was one surprising thing that I found out about these big cucumbers. These were not overly ripe. When Armenian cucumbers become overly ripe, they turn yellow and they taste sweeter and sweeter, more like a melon, but not, to me anyway, a great tasting melon, more like an overly ripe melon. These don't taste like that. These taste like the perfect Armenian cucumber, and I think that's because I took them off when they were perfectly ripe, not overripe. And so they taste great. They're just huge. Well, I guess that's nothing to complain about, is it? It's just a surplus of cucumber riches.
Now, the Armenian cucumber, scientific name Curcumis mellow, is also known as the yard-long melon because it is in the melon family and because it can grow up to a yard long. Now, I've never had any get 36 inches long. I'm going to try, though. Any that grow from this point forward, I'm going to let them just go as long as they get until they start to take on a tinge of yellow. Then I'll cut them off. But I want to see if I can get any that long. The vines are so strong. It looks like a frail plant, but it totally is not. It is very, very strong and supports lots of weight on it, which is why you have to be careful to cut them, leaving a little bit of stem. It is important to leave a little bit of stem on the cucumber. That actually keeps the cucumber from rotting when you take it in the house. It keeps it nice and firm. Also, it's really good, especially if you don't harvest first thing in the morning when it's still cool out, to rinse it with a cold water rinse right before you put it in the fridge to keep. Now, obviously, if you're going to use it fresh, which is the best thing to do, you don't have to do that. But if you're going to store it for a few days, it does keep really well in the fridge. But back to the names, in addition to being called the yard-long melon, it's called the yard-long cucumber, also called the snake melon and the snake cucumber. Now, the ones I took off today were very, very straight, but in the past, I've definitely had very curly Armenian cucumbers grow. I'll try to find a picture of one to put up here so you can see why they took on the name snake melon and snake cucumber. And actually they're known to startle your cats if they come across them unawares. Now, a couple of interesting facts about the Armenian cucumber. One is that unlike tomatoes or peaches or many fruits and veggies, the Armenian cucumber does not continue ripening after you've taken it off the vine. So you do want to make sure that it's ripe. However, it is edible at any stage from young to old. And so anytime it's after 7-8 inches long, go ahead and take it if you want. If you've got more than you know what to do with, you can take them young. But unlike, say, a zucchini, the larger it gets, it's not affecting its taste. Again, you might read otherwise, but my experience, and actually everyone I've known that's grown them, says that it doesn't matter how big they are. They don't get bitter, they don't taste watery or sickishly sweet or any of those off, flavors, unless you let them go yellow. So that's the one thing you don't want to do.
Here are the cucumbers that I planted about 3 weeks ago. Now there's 3 of them in this 15-gallon container, along with this tall sunflower up here. So what I intend to do is take out the one in the middle and just leave the 2 on the sides to go up this very sturdy tomato cage here. And then the one in the middle I will plant somewhere else around here. And these should be producing well into November, since we stay quite warm through at least Thanksgiving.
And then these are the 2 trellises where I have more Armenian cucumber growing that I planted 5 or 6 weeks ago. And they are definitely starting to climb.
So they're doing quite well, and I think I'm going to be getting cucumbers off of them very soon.
Now I found my Armenian cucumbers grow really well in this bed behind me. It's very rich, fertile soil. I built this bed a few years ago from the ground up. I'll link a video to the process of me building this bed, but I layered it with so much organic material, and it's just done so well, whatever I've grown in it the last 3 years. From watermelon mostly to the squash and now cucumbers I'm growing in it. And every fall, after I pulled out the last of my late veggies and fruits, I pile it up with a thick layer of chicken manure and probably some collard leaves, things like that, to really add more organic material to the soil. And then in the spring, I add a few inches of homemade compost to the top and plant again. And boy, it has made anything I plant here very productive. Now, I will fertilize if necessary. If the plants I'm growing here look like they're flagging, especially in, say, September. But I always use organic fertilizers, usually with my own homemade compost tea, made from collard leaves mostly, and also, other garden waste, as it were. And so that's very, very beneficial to the plants. But if I don't have enough of it to go around my huge garden, I will supplement with, say, fish emulsion or seaweed fertilizer. But yeah, no synthetic stuff here. Now, some people call the Armenian cucumber the zucchini of the melon family. And I've read that that's because they think that the texture of the Armenian cucumber is more like a zucchini than like a cucumber. I don't agree with that. I think that the Armenian cucumber is very much texture-wise like a cucumber. It's light and crispy. The only time I feel like that it might be kind of soft and limp, like some zucchini get if you harvest them and leave them out for a little bit. They're softer, not quite as crisp as cucumbers generally. The only time it gets like that is if you let them get too old and they get, pretty yellow. So when they're actually still pale green, like they should be when they're ripe, well, then they do taste like a cucumber, very crispy. The skin is a little bit softer in my experience than most other cucumbers, but that's the only difference I've noticed. In fact, I'm thinking the reason that they're called zucchini of the melon family is because the big Armenian cucumbers really know how to hide. Now, how can you enjoy your cucumbers other than, slicing them up fresh, putting some vinegar and salt on them, which I love to do? Well, of course you can put them in salads, both green salads and pasta salads. But you can do a lot of other things with them as well that you might just not think of, naturally. One is cucumber sandwiches. Now, if you're not in America, you might be like, of course, cucumber sandwiches. I know in Europe this is kind of a normal thing, but it's not so much here. And yet, it is delicious. So yeah, cucumbers in your sandwiches. Also, though, you can put them on a little, snack plate with olives and cherry tomatoes and other little munchies you like from your garden. But my new favorite thing to do with cucumbers is actually raita. I think I'm pronouncing that right, raita. And it is an Indian dish that's made with yogurt, and then you chop up cucumbers, and then whatever else you'd like, put into it. You can make it savory or sweet, and I like to put in cherry tomatoes and bits of chopped up olive, salt. Spices and herbs are great to add to it. I like to add oregano to mine, but you can really experiment. Some people love it with cucumber and mint and a little bit of lemon verbena mixed in with the yogurt. It's considered a palate cleansing dish in between all those, super spicy Indian dishes, but I love it as a little light lunch or just as an evening snack after dinner. Yeah. It's just become my new little favorite thing, especially since I have so many cucumbers.
So here is my simple evening raita made with non-fat, plain Greek yogurt. Usually they say not to use Greek because it's so thick, but I can't handle regular yogurt. I can only eat Greek yogurt. And really, if you stir it enough, it becomes, less thick, and it works just fine. Added to the yogurt, I put in veggies and herbs from my garden. So I've got orange and red cherry tomatoes, garlic chives, cilantro, oregano, Egyptian walking onions, and some salt, because I do love salt. Now, usually you eat raita with naan, but you can also eat it with Chinese yobing, and in a pinch, like right now when it is too hot to cook, well, I just use regular sourdough, and it tastes delicious.
Of course I can always give my excess cucumbers to my chickens, and they truly appreciate that. They love them, but I love them too. And so I want you to maybe venture out and grow some Armenian cucumbers if you haven't yet tried them. I don't think you'll be sorry if you go ahead and experiment with them. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great weekend and happy growing.